It's not good,
my lawyer says.
I've always been straight with you, Jackson, and this is not good.
I shake my head in the jail's meeting room. My hands and feet are shackled together with chains and affixed to a concrete anchor in the floor between my feet. I sit in a metal chair that's screwed into the floor. The foul-smelling mixture of stale vomit, sweat, and my lawyer's cologne invades my nostrils.
What about my cameras?
I ask.
The footage will show that I found them like that. Have you asked about that? The footage the cops found on you will be the biggest piece of evidence in their favor,
Keenan says.
It shows someone cutting their throats. All you can see of the guy are his covered forearms and gloved hands, but everything in the footage matches what you were wearing, even down to the watch turned inward on his left wrist. Same brand watch, same kind of gloves, same everything. And they found the knife near you on the floor, covered in blood.
I can do nothing but shake my head. This is a nightmare.
Why would I kill them if they were going to pay me for the job they hired me for? What's the motive here?
Keenan leans forward, his expensive tie brushing the metal table.
They're going to say you found out something about the Bermans you didn't like. Mr. Berman has been suspected of having organized crime ties. So the DA's office is going to argue that, during your research for the murder experience, you found something you didn't like and took it into your own hands to kill them. With your background, yeah, I get it,
I tell him.
Well, what's your plan? I'm going to show the blood test we had done, showing the drugs in your system. That, along with the lack of blood on your gloves, and the fact that you were found unconscious on the bedroom floor will go a long way toward casting doubt on the DA's case. That's where I'll start. But I have my paralegals working on additional research as we speak. You're right,
I say.
This is bad. Have you talked to Chloe yet?
Keenan shakes his head.
Can't get a hold of her. She's not picking up. And when I stopped by your office yesterday, she wasn't there. The place was locked up.
My lawyer pauses for a moment before continuing.
Do you think it's possible that Chloe was involved?
I finish for him.
I've been thinking about that. I mean, anything's possible. I don't want to believe it. Then again, I don't want to believe half the things people do. See if you can dig into her. Worth a check anyway.
Keenan nods.
Will do.
He grabs his suitcase and steps toward the door, knocking to be let out.
Keep your head down, huh? I put $200 into the commissary just like you asked. Thanks,
I say.
Now get your ass to work.
Keenan smiles weakly. I return the gesture.
I'll see you at the arraignment tomorrow. We'll see about getting you out on bail.
I nod. Then one of the guards opens the door and he's gone. Another guard escorts me back to the dormitory, which is a wide room with bunk beds everywhere and bathrooms in the back. There's an elevated guard post overlooking the room, the two guards keeping an eye on all of us from behind reinforced glass. Men lounge on their beds, chat, read, play cards, and generally pass the time any way they can. We're all wearing blue jumpsuits and slippers. Since this is a jail and not a prison, most of the men here are serving short stints or waiting on their court dates. No one messes with me as I walk through the room. Maybe because they've seen the way the guards won't let me out without chaining my hands and feet together. They don't do that for just anyone. I guess some smart guy saw my service record and deemed me more dangerous than the average offender. Flattering, if a little inaccurate. After all, my skills didn't help me when it really mattered. They didn't keep some asshole from sneaking up behind me and sticking a needle in my neck. Now, with the shackles off, I make my way to my bunk, grabbing the Stephen King book I found in the little library in the corner of the room yesterday. I flop down and crack the book open to where I left off. Out of the corner of my eye, I see two men approaching. I turn my head and look at them. One of them is a heavy-set guy with dark bags under his eyes and black hair going gray. The other one is a younger version of the first, not as heavy, not yet graying, and with small bags. They look like mob types. They move hesitantly. Their body language tells me they're not coming with violence in mind. Still, it pays to be prepared.
You're Jackson Rader?
The older guy asks. He has a cheap phone held down by his left thigh, so the guards can't see it. I sit up, flipping my legs down off the bottom bunk and placing my feet on the floor, ready for action.
What do you want? Got a call for you,
the guy says, shrugging. His buddy shifts position, placing his body so the guards can't see. The nearest camera is at the wrong angle to see me on the bottom bunk. The older guy hands me the phone. I take it and look at the screen, expecting to see a phone number displayed. Instead, I see a man in a ski mask. It's a video call. His eyes widen as he sees me. Then he flips the phone around and brings Chloe into view. She has tape over her mouth and she's wearing only her bra and panties. Her skin is bruised and dirty. Her arms are fastened above her head, and her back is to a concrete wall. The camera moves closer to her and then an arm appears in the shot, holding a knife. Chloe thrashes, screaming against the tape over her mouth, trying to get free. The man plunges the knife into her abdomen. He stabs her repeatedly, in the stomach, breasts, and finally in the neck and face. I clamp my teeth together and clench the phone in my hand. The screen cracks under the strain, but I can still see the image. The man steps back and keeps the phone pointed at her, letting me watch as Chloe dies, her body finally going limp. Then he shifts position, pointing the phone at a hand-drawn sign propped up against a wooden beam. It says, "Enjoy prison. Be sure to think about how you're responsible for 3 deaths now. More to come." The call ends. I quickly navigate to the recent calls, seeing that the number was blocked. Bolting up from my bunk, I grab the older guy's collar in my left hand.
Who was that? Who the fuck was that?
The younger guy immediately lunges for me, wrapping an arm around my neck. I don't let up.
I don't know, man.
The guy says.
I don't know. He just called and told me if I didn't find you and put you on, he would kill my wife. He recited her name and address. I don't know who the hell he is.
The guards have spotted the confrontation now, and they sound the alarm.
Get down on the floor,
a guard says over the PA system.
How did he get your number?
I ask the guy, rasping out the words as the younger guy chokes me.
I don't know, goddammit,
the older guy says. I hear the door to the dormitory open and the stomp of boots as guards rush in. I let go of the guy, tossing his phone aside. The younger guy lets me go, and we all put our hands up and get down on our knees. The image of Chloe bleeding out sticks in my head, repeating in my mind's eye on a loop. It feeds the brilliant, fiery ball of rage that is ignited in my chest, one that won't soon go out. The transport van is crammed with 8 of us in the back. The Department of Corrections officer finishes buckling the last man in, then steps out, closes the cage, and shuts the back door. There are no windows in the back of the van, so we can't see out of the vehicle. But there are 2 dome lights that stay on, allowing us to see. The 8 seats are arranged on either side of the vehicle, 4 facing 4. The old guy who gave me the phone yesterday is sitting directly across from me. I've since learned that he's some kind of mob guy named Conti. He looks nervous as the van begins to move. He must be facing some serious time. Then again, I'm also facing some serious time. But it seems to be a secondary concern at the moment. My focus is on who killed Chloe and why he's hell-bent on ruining my life. I keep going over and over the contents of the video call, trying to glean some clues as to the man's identity. I wonder briefly how much my bail will be. I don't think I'm a flight risk, but the district attorney's office might not see it that way. I rock in my seat as the van goes over a bump and turns, probably leaving the jail's parking lot. It will be a 10-minute drive to the courthouse. My hands are cuffed together and fastened to a chain around my waist. My legs are also restrained, just like everyone else's. Transport is a vulnerable time. It's when desperate inmates do desperate things. I focus on the memory of Chloe as the van accelerates. The mob guy across from me, Conti, is sweating. Suddenly, the transport van swerves, the engine revving. The pop of gunshots sounds from outside the vehicle. Someone's shooting at us. The van swerves again and brakes hard, throwing us in the back against our seatbelts. The engine revs as we pick up speed again. The back left corner of the vehicle drops, clearly the result of a blowout. There were more gunshots, then the other back wheel goes flat. We're all whipped forward as the transport van collides with something. Another vehicle by the sound of it. I look across at Conti. The reason for his sweating is suddenly dawning on me. He looks right through me, in his own world. His lips move as he prays to his god. We all look at each other as the back door opens, letting watery sunlight stream in through the cage door. Two men in expensive black suits appear. Their faces are hidden behind hockey masks. They each carry a semi-auto rifle. One of them has the keys to the cage, and he uses them to unlock the door.
Please,
Conti says.
please, I won't tell them nothing. I swear it.
One of the men steps inside, while the other one turns to keep watch. Beyond him, I can see dozens of cars pulled over on the city street, their drivers peeking cautiously over their steering wheels to watch the drama.
Sorry, can't take the chance.
The masked man in the vehicle says. He brings his rifle up and shoots Conti, splattering blood all over the guy sitting next to him. The guy turns and steps out of the vehicle.
Have a nice day.
He says to the rest of us.
The keys!
I yell.
Toss me the keys!
The two guys look at each other for a moment before laughing.
No fucking way!
They turn to leave.
Think about it!
I call after them.
The more cops looking for us escaped inmates, the fewer looking for you!
They stop. The guy with the keys shrugs, turns, and tosses them at me. I'm able to raise my hands just enough to catch them. The police sirens are getting steadily closer, and it takes me precious seconds to find the right key. When I do, I quickly unlock one of my wrist restraints and then bend down to unlock one of my leg restraints. Several other inmates shout for the keys as I step out of the vehicle, but I take the keys with me as I run, their curses following me as I duck into a nearby alley. The sirens are getting much closer now, but my main priority is to finish removing my restraints. As I run, I unlock my other wrist, freeing it from the restraint that's connected to a chain around my waist. As police cars squeal to a stop in the street behind me, I get behind a dumpster and remove the other ankle restraint, leaving the device on the alley floor. The wrist restraints are still attached to a chain around my waist, which is fastened with a padlock at my back. I have no time to take it off right now. My uniform doesn't have pockets, so I grip the keys in my hand. Glancing over the dumpster, I see that the coast is clear, but it won't be for long. I can hear police officers shouting. Keeping low, I book it down the alley, taking a left at the next street. I run down to the next block and cross the street, glancing over my shoulder to see two squad cars coming down the road, lights and sirens in full effect. They know where I am. There's an alley up ahead to my right between two medium-sized buildings. Ducking into the alley, I look up at the building to my left, noticing a series of vertical metal ribs going all the way up the side of the 8-story building. The ribs protrude about 3 feet from the wall. They're a stylistic choice, not a utilitarian one. Between these ribs, which are spaced about 20 feet apart all along the building, there are horizontal slats that serve to hold windows in place. I run halfway down the alley, putting the keys in my mouth to free both my hands as I approach the building. I position myself directly inside one of the metal ribs and start climbing, using the slats as hands and footholds. They're just big enough for the tips of my fingers and the edges of my toes once I've kicked the jail slippers off. I'm about 3 stories up when I hear footsteps from the alley mouth.
He ran down here!
A man says. It's the police. I freeze where I am, knowing they can't see me because the metal rib is blocking their view. But once they get below me, they will have no problem seeing me if they just look up. I hear their footfalls coming down the alley. Pressing myself against the building, I hold my breath. My fingers and toes keep me from falling. They pass by below, but when they don't see me on the next block over, they may come back. I climb for my life, using the metal slats like widely spaced ladder rungs. Every so often I have to stop to dry my fingers on my prison clothes so I don't slip and fall to my death. What I wouldn't do for some climbing chalk. Reaching the top of the building with shaking limbs, I dump myself over the edge and onto the gravel-coated rooftop. I drop the keys out of my mouth before resting on my back. As I stare up at the gray sky, breathing heavily, I return to the question my mind has been working on ever since the setup at the Berman's house. Who would want to make me suffer like this? I go over all the clients who have been less than pleased by my work, but none of them seem to match. They're all old men for the most part. In fact, that's the bulk of my clientele. Old men who are struggling to come to terms with their impending death. Sure, I've performed the murder experience on a few younger rich guys, but I can't think of any one of them who didn't actually enjoy it. But there was one man. He didn't try to sue me. He didn't even tell me he was unhappy with the service, but there was something in his voice when he called the next day to finish paying. something that bothered me at the time. But when his payment went through, I put it out of my mind. Could it be? I sit up on the roof and look around. I guess it's time to find out. Arriving at the man's house, I quickly see that he's increased security significantly since I did the job for him over a year ago. It's a good sign I'm on the right track. I had to call in a big favor from one of the only good friends I have to get me here. When Leo picked me up in the parking garage of the building I climbed, he looked at me like I'd just ruined his dinner.
I didn't do it,
I told him, settling into the back seat.
Never thought you did,
He said.
I was just in the middle of something. And I don't like the possibility of getting arrested for helping a fugitive. You're all over the news, you know. Yeah, I figured. Let's just go. Where to?
He asked.
Parking garage on 5th and Washington,
I told him. For years, I've kept a black Lexus IS in a parking garage down the street from my office building. It's in my mother's name, and I don't drive it often, but it contains a bunch of much-needed supplies. Old habits die hard. So does paranoia. Leo dropped me off outside, and I made my way into the garage using a code on an exterior door. When I got to the car, I used another code to unlock it. The spare key was right where I left it, velcroed to the underside of the driver's seat. Now, an hour later, here I am. I've changed clothes, and I have access to some simple equipment. I just need to figure out how the hell to get past all his security. Once inside, I'll be able to determine whether this is the guy or not. I have a feeling it is. Sitting in my car up the street in a home's driveway, I look through a pair of basic binoculars at the property. The place is surrounded by wrought iron fencing with sharp, pointed tips. There are cameras on each corner of the massive Spanish villa-style house, pointing in every direction. The driveway is gated, with 2 cameras on the gate posts. It's likely that the house itself has a top-of-the-line security system. And to complicate things further, it's still daytime. In fact, the sun won't be down for several hours. If this were a job, I would have a month or more to research, pinpoint weaknesses, and buy the proper equipment. But I don't have a month. I don't even have a day. I need to do this now, because if I go back to jail, even if I'm found innocent of killing the Bermans, I'll still have to serve time for escaping. He'll have gotten away with it, and by the time I get out, he'll probably be living in a mansion next to some exotic beach. That is, if this is the guy. If Luther Maddock is the man who killed Chloe, I need to make him pay for it. If I'm wrong, then I need to stay out of jail for long enough to find the man responsible. But as I watch through the binoculars, something happens that makes me think I'm right. I see Luther Maddock come through his front door carrying several bags. He looks like he's in a hurry as he heads toward the standalone 3-car garage. He glances around wildly, as if expecting someone to pop out at him. It's him. He's seen the news. He knows I'm loose. And he knows what I'll do if I catch him.
Where do you think you're going?
I say to myself, putting the car in gear. Maddock, who's the youngest private equity firm CEO in American history, has thick black hair and a short black beard. He's fit, which I remember from my research. There had been several news stories about his insane workout regimen, and how he would often make important decisions over the phone while running, biking, or lifting weights. But there's a big difference between working out in a gym and fighting for your life out in the jungle, or the desert, or the forest. There's a difference between using your body to get yourself out of a life or death situation and calling a spotter over to help you lift the barbell when you go too hard. No amount of simulated activity prepares you for the real thing. But I must be careful. I must use my head. Maddock has already gotten the best of me once. Then again, I got the best of him first. Right now, we're even. And in just a few minutes, we'll see who the winner is. I watch through the binoculars as one of the garage doors opens. A silver Porsche 911 Carrera rolls out, heading down the driveway. Well, my Lexus is no match for his Porsche, so I can't allow him to get off the property. Not that I was planning on it anyway. I put the binoculars down, grabbing a Glock 17 from the passenger seat. I do some quick and dirty calculations in my mind, judging how long it will take to get him to the gate and how long for the gate to open. Easing my foot off the brake, I head out from the house I've been parked at, coasting down toward Maddock's driveway. I can't see the gate from where I am, and I don't want to get too close. If I do, he's likely to see me through the fence. So I stop down the road, a row of bushes blocking his view of me, but also my view of him. Counting in my head, I can only hope my guess is right. 3, 2, 1. I slam on the gas pedal, the rear wheels digging into the asphalt as the turbocharged 4-cylinder engine powers the sedan down the street. As I get up to the driveway, I bring the gate into view. The Porsche is just nosing through. Spinning the wheel, I turn into the driveway, not slowing down, not stopping. I have my seatbelt on, and I aim to ram him. But Maddox's reaction time is fast. The tires squeal as he throws the sports car into reverse. For a moment, I think I'm going to hit him, but the car reverses quickly. We race up his driveway, nose to nose. Raising the Glock in my right hand, I aim through the windshield, pointing slightly down to account for the angle of the glass. I fire 4 quick shots, the bullets punching through both windshields. Blood splatters the inside of his windshield just before the Porsche spins to my right. My Lexus smashes into the passenger side of his vehicle, causing us both to spin out in the grass of his huge front lawn. The cars come to rest, tangled. I've lost my gun, knocked out of my hand when the airbags deployed. No matter, I still have a knife and a sheath on my hip. Batting the airbags out of the way, I open the door and step out, just in time to see Maddox running away toward his garage. He's bleeding from the arm and running awkwardly, but he's still fast. I race after him, pulling the knife out as I go. He disappears through the open bay door a good 5 paces ahead of me. I hear a car door slam shut as I turn the corner into the garage. The rumble of the candy apple red Lamborghini's engine seems to vibrate the whole structure as Maddox fires it up. The car is facing out, and the garage door is opening. But Maddox clearly sees me coming. He shifts into first and hits the gas just as I throw myself at the car, smashing through the window with the tip of the knife. The blade continues on, slicing through the meat of Maddox's left arm before embedding itself in the seat back. I manage to get my left arm hooked through the window as the car is moving, but the garage door isn't clear yet, and the vehicle smashes into it about halfway up the windshield. The impact knocks Maddox's foot off the gas, stopping the car momentarily. This gives me enough time to pull the knife out of the seat and stab him in the shoulder with the blade. He screams and turns all his attention to pulling the knife out. Getting my feet under me, I rear back and punch him in the jaw through the broken window. Wrenching open the door, I yank him out of the vehicle and drag him toward the back of the garage. He's not unconscious, but he's dazed, and he doesn't fight back. There's something familiar about the area, and I quickly realize why. This was where he killed Chloe. I can see the wall where she was hung, and the wooden post where the sign was propped. Everything's been cleaned up now, but this is clearly the place. Tossing him down on the floor next to the wall, I nudge the knife still sticking out of him, bringing him back around with a gasp of pain. He looks up with the same eyes I saw staring down at me in the Berman's house. Only this time, they're not smiling. There's no strength in them, only fear. That bright ball of rage swirls inside me, feeding off my anger and his fear.
Why did you have to kill her?
I scream, my voice cracking with anger, regret, and hate.
Why couldn't you just kill me and be done with it? Why did you have to involve her?
Talking through gritted teeth, Maddox answers me.
You don't know what it's like. That night, I can't get it out of my head. You violated me. You made me feel weak, helpless. I wanted you to feel the same. It was the only way I could take the power back. You knew exactly what you were hiring me for,
I say.
I didn't force you to do anything. I gave you more than enough chances to call it off, but you didn't. And you blame me? Maybe you feel weak because you are weak. I just brought the truth out. You're a weak piece of shit who hides behind his money.
Tears stream down his cheeks. His face is going pale with the blood loss.
You don't understand. You don't know how it feels. You don't know what it's like to be helpless. Yes,
I say.
I do.
I stand and pull the hem of my shirt up to reveal a mass of scars on my stomach and chest. He looks up at them in shock.
How do you think I got the idea for this little business?
I ask, dropping my shirt.
I know exactly how it feels. I was murdered many years ago and thousands of miles away. I was dead, and the medics brought me back. And you know what? It made me appreciate life for what it is. It helped me let go of all the bullshit, at least for a while. It was a fucking gift, and I wouldn't change it for anything. No,
Maddox says.
No, It's not the same. It's not the same.
Smiling, I crouch next to him once again.
Some people don't deserve the gift,
I say.
Some people squander it. Some people use it to harm others. And there's only one word for it. For you. Weak.
The rage is spreading through me now like a fire feeding on gasoline. Chloe's smiling face comes to my mind. I pull the knife out of his shoulder, holding him down as he thrashes. And then I go to work. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy these stories, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out some more of my episodes here.